Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Marketing Thing podcast. Today's topic is cracking the deadline code and excelling under pressure. Hello again, everyone. I'm your host, Antoinette Blake, and you're watching the One Marketing Thing podcast. Now, we started this podcast for digital marketers so that we could provide them with expert advice from industry veterans who have decades of experience. And one of those experts is Phillip Chachio. I'm going to call him Phil. And Phil is going to be discussing cracking the deadline code and excelling under pressure. Phillip, or Phil, welcome to the One Marketing Thing podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, Antoinette. Thanks for having me aboard today. Currently, I'm Senior Growth Strategist at Trailblaze Marketing, a digital-first, innovative, AI forefront marketing agency located in Providence, Rhode Island. So I head up sales and strategy for the agency. Prior to my tenure at Trailblaze, which is coming up on 3 years, I served 3 Fortune 500 companies as head of digital innovation.
So congratulations on your anniversaries.
Oh, thank you. It's coming up in September.
Very, very good. So today we want to talk about cracking the deadline code and excelling under pressure. Like, when you take that diamond, you put them under pressure. Take coal and put it under pressure, you get the diamond. So tell us how we can crack that deadline code so that we can excel under pressure.
That's a great question, and there are a lot of elements involved into successfully fulfilling deadlines and commitments. And I want to highlight commitment as the major thrust of this talk. I think committing to a deadline is similar to committing to a difficult ski line, right? So there are a few things you should know before you approach a deadline. A, do you have the team in place, right? Can you achieve it? B, is it feasible, right? Are the timelines set up in a way that it's feasible, right? Is it actually achievable? Are you going to be able to hit this deadline? And C, make sure that you get the team rallied around the milestones, right? If you can't hit the short-term milestones, you're not going to be able to hit the long-term milestones. So setting efficient and effective milestones in place will ensure long-term success.
And Phil, I think that is great because oftentimes when you're just starting out as a digital marketer, you're so excited on getting new clients, new customers, and you just, you promise everything, the sun, the moon, and the world. But that's not the best approach.
That's correct. Rarely do you want to overpromise. Oftentimes you want to promise accurately and then over-deliver, right? Achieve success by hitting deadlines on time or ahead of time and ensuring those short-term deadlines are hit in the project plan.
Now, when taking on new projects, what are did you take a bunch of little ones or one major one? What's good? So, because when you want to be under pressure, but you want to excel while you're there, but you want to make sure that you can handle it and that your reputation, your brand is not diminished because of the fact that you can't do it.
It helps to have a proven process. So at Trailblaze, we have a proven process to guarantee client success. Retention plays a big factor in that. Every client wants the sun, moon, and stars to begin with. So accurately assessing the most important priorities and scheduling out those initiatives throughout the year, right? You've got to have a plan. Proper planning is essential, and starting at the highest level, right? We always establish the North Star. What are their objectives, and what are we going to achieve by delivering on those objectives?
So is that like an outline that you should have or use? Is that recommended?
Yeah. So we start the process with a discovery call. So that's a 15-minute call to get the high level objectives and kind of realize what the key outcomes are of those objectives, right? The KPIs, how we're going to achieve success. We follow up with a series of assessments. So we have tied into our project management system forms that go out after the discovery call. And we have 3 forms. We have a branding form for branding projects, a marketing form for campaigns and content marketing, and a website form for website builds and redesigns. So those give us the full download of what their goals are, their mission, page size, campaign reach, media budget. All those details are documented and given to us in writing so that we have them as when we set out to create the project plan.
Now, overall, can you say that using these formats, these forms, most companies fit into, or most clients fit into these, these particular forms that you can, take and run with it, or are you switching them up with each client?
Sure. So we have two divisions at Trailblaze. We have our small business division, which is Trailblaze PVD. So they have a series of forms which are more streamlined, simplified for small business owners. On the mid-market and enterprise side, I'm dealing with marketing teams. So marketing directors, VP of marketing, CEO, CMO. So they have this stuff in their brand style guide. We just want to put it in one place, and we give them a chance to upload those documents ahead of the pitch so that we have all that information, so the promises we make, we can fulfill.
That's a great idea. I love that, how you're providing the discovery call first and foremost so that you can get inside their head to see what it is exactly they're looking to have done. And then for your bigger clients to upload the documentation so that you can do your due diligence before you reconnect with them.
Yeah, so to continue on the process, within 3 to 10 business days, we schedule the pitch presentation. And we spend a lot of time in pre-sales. So on average, we spend between 5 and I would say 20 hours on a pitch presentation. We do all the background research, competitive analysis, SWOT. We provide that in a beautifully laid out PowerPoint, along with each initiative that we're proposing. And then we do a high-level Gantt. So not a complete project plan in the pitch presentation, but we will do a high-level Gantt based out by month or quarter on the initiatives we've set forth in the pitch.
And when you're sitting after your discovery call, are you giving them like a timeline of when? I know you put in, like I said, 3 to 10 business days, but are you saying, within 3 to 10 business days, we're coming back to you with our proposal?
Exactly. So you always want to book the next meeting in the meeting you're in, right?
Oh, good idea.
Key to business development is booking the follow-up meeting in the meeting you're currently in. Don't leave that meeting unless you have the next meeting booked. And that'll give you kind of that sense of urgency. If you know you have a pitch presentation to deliver in 7 days, coming out of that discovery call or after having received the assessments that you should start and begin the work, right? You don't want to be doing it all the day before, the night before. You want to have time for the presentation for your colleagues to review, say, department heads or the owner of the agency, to be able to weigh in, right? Because this is the future of the agency. The clients that you acquire are going to shape the work that you do and the excellence that you bring to the industry.
And I like that. And that was one of the cracking the deadline code, by booking the next meeting before you end that first meeting. Because again, we can procrastinate all day, and then the week before, it's like, oh my gosh, now we have to rush.
Absolutely. It's all about momentum, right? And if you're fresh out of a meeting, a discovery call, that's when to compile your notes, start the outline, get the pieces in play when it's fresh in your mind. And when you come out of the proposal, the pitch meeting, and it's time to think about a proposal, that's the best time to start the outline for that. So as soon as we end the pitch meeting and we've had a successful pitch, the client's engaged, they like what we've presented, they believe that it's what they need, right? Because we're trying to solve problems, we're trying to address need. The active listening is huge in these preliminary steps. And then in the proposal, we're going to firm up deadlines, right? And that's what this meeting is about, is cracking the code for those deadlines. And that's if it's a significant project or a significant campaign or retainer deal, you're going to want to mark all the major milestones, right? So say it's a branding project, and for our branding projects, we deliver to start a communication strategy or brand story, right? So that's the first major deadline. That's usually 2 to 3 weeks after the proposal is signed. Then there may or may not be a logo redesign, right? That may take 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the amount of feedback. So the other cracking the code is always account for revisions and feedback in the project plan, right? Chart your milestones, account for time and revision and feedback, and then set an end date that's achievable, right? It has to be achievable. And this is when it goes back to the commitment. You have to commit to that date, right? It's got to be a commitment. It has to be achievable, and you have to have the team on board. So make sure to get that team buy-in before you give that date to the client, because that's the drop dead, that's the date you got to hit. And back to the original metaphor, you don't want to approach a line without, or a deadline without knowing you can do it, right? So you need to have the experience on the team to know that they can hit that deadline and deliver the project, deliver the campaign in the allotted hours, right? So make sure that you've done it before, and that's the best way to ensure success, is looking at past projects, ensuring that you have that project management tool that documents the hours spent. Did you hit the deadline on the last website? Did you hit the deadline on the previous campaign? If not, how much longer did it took? Because you don't want to make the same mistake twice. So definitely look at historical data in your project management system before you give a date for an upcoming project or campaign.
And I love what you said, Phil. You're like, reevaluate. If you couldn't do it, then maybe in the next, time you need to reevaluate, the process, because I think revisions probably takes the bulk, right? The bulk of the time once you got it there, that first go around, but then the revisions where, you might see something that, or a team member may see something that you might have missed.
Yeah, and it's important to account for that as part of the process. You don't want to be let down if your first pitch or your first logo design or your first creative strategy is torn apart by the client. If they're adept and they're really good at they know their business and they're really good at what they do. So be prepared to come back with a second version.
Good. And I love that. And for any new, digital marketer out there, these, man, Phil, you dropped some gems. I'm sitting here taking a lot of notes, obviously. See me head bouncing, looking. But these are some great key elements for, cracking the code, cracking that deadline code, and, excelling under pressure, and, just learning from your mistakes. Because when you're starting out, it's not going to be right. And commit to the bit. I like when you said commit to the bit.
Yeah. And finish strong. That's the other bit of advice. Don't let up the week leading up to the deadline. Do not let up. You have the eyes on the prize, you're close, and the best team members are the ones good in the clutch. That
Awesome.
last 2 week to week, ensuring that a website gets launched on time is a huge feat. And I've done it for huge companies and hundreds of small businesses. And hitting the deadline, all the planning in the world, all the studies in the world won't matter if you're not good in the clutch in that last 2 weeks leading up to launch.
Wow,
you have to clear your plate. You got to clear your plate. You got to clear the plate of the people involved, the team members involved, so they can hit that deadline. They have to have a clear line of sight into the end goal, right? If a basketball team is looking to win the championship, they're not focused on anything else,
Exactly.
And if a marketing team is working on a major initiative, that should be their focus. No distractions, the eyes on the prize, and learn to be good in the clutch.
I love that. Be good in the clutch and clear the plate. We want to thank you, Phil, for being a guest here on the One Marketing Thing podcast. And you know what? If anyone has any questions, because I know they're going to have some questions, we ask that you send an email to editor@passionatemarketers.com, because Phil, you've dropped some gems on cracking the deadline code and excelling under pressure. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Antoinette. It's been a pleasure. And to all the new marketers out there, good luck. It's a great field and lots of excitement.
Awesome. And we also want to say thank you to our sponsor, Propel. They are a unique reviews, automation, and management platform. Propel is the #1 tool that helps small businesses convert website visitors into customers.